fingerprinted, videotaped caregivers. It's a marketplace. That's language you guys can understand. So now if a family is looking for care, instead of looking for an aunt, some kind of relationship 3 degrees removed, you can go on the site, you can search by various criteria, and you can call us up, and we will send you profiles of those that match your needs. And you can be sure that we've met each one, and we wouldn't meet them unless they're 21, experienced, referenced, fingerprinted, a bio online. You can read the references online, and they have a video. Nothing like it. And the response has been great. So we are thrilled. What's more, a caregiver gets paid very poorly when they work for an agency, $10 or $11 an hour. It's really less than a babysitter. And when they come onto our system, they're able to work privately. So they can work for 16, 17, 18. They make 50% more. And the family is still happy because they're paying $17 rather than $25. So both sides win. Family's paying less. They can choose the caregiver who's coming into the house, which you can't do with an agency, and you can control the care without a middleman. And as this has progressed, not only has this been something that's been really well received, but it's allowed me to re-engage in society. You know, everybody kept giving me different ideas on what I could do, and get into sports, get into this. But I've always been in business. So this is what has taken for me. Now, I don't know if any of you have been in similar situations where you've dealt with care for your parents, let's say, and you understand this huge issue. Because look, everybody knows about the demographics, right? People are living longer, they are getting older, and they all want to age at home. Stats show that 90% of the people who age want to age at home. So clearly there's a demand for these caregivers. But where's the supply going to come from if they're making $10 or $11 an hour? It just doesn't work. So I've made my choice. I'm moving on. You know, many of you may have seen Sheryl Sandberg's post on Facebook. She's the CFO of Facebook, and during her mourning period, she put a number of posts on Facebook, and one in particular I remember. She talked about getting attuned to life without her husband Dave, who died suddenly, unexpectedly on a vacation. And what she did is she talked about option A, which was life with Dave, and that was the life she wanted, and option B was reality. And then some parent or father-child event came up, and she really was looking for Dave. And she was saying to her friend how much she wanted Dave to be there for that activity. And her friend said, option A is not available. You just have to go out there and kick the shit out of option B. Now, I don't know if I'm kicking the shit out of option B of my reality, but I'm not taking it lying down either. So thank you very much for being here. I have to tell you, it is very exciting to kick off my corporate speaking engagements here at Barclays. And I hope to do many more. So I would invite, if you have any ideas of other corporates where I could speak, or civic organizations or religious organizations, if you know anybody who's looking for care, I think our offering is great and the reception's been super. If you know any great caregivers, I'm really open to anything. And you can follow us on Facebook now that I've learned social media from my kids. Or like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. So I have to tell you how fantastic it feels to be here. Thank you very much. I needed a
DVD's day. Never happened. Yeah. I got one question to go. So I was curious. What happened
Zach had a hip replacement, and a few months later he went back to work, and he's actually riding. And if you want to know what happened to the woman who hit us, nothing. She came up with this excuse that she had had a neurological problem that had never manifested itself previously. The county's expert witness bought it. And I have to tell you how crazy that is, because whether she had a condition or not, she had another driver in the car who had already raised the radio. So they both knew she was drowsy. All she had to do was pull over. So I don't know how you can make that claim, but it doesn't really do me a whole lot of good at this point, one way or the other anyway. So
you're running the business locally or nationally, or how do you?
Well, locally, so far, it's in New Jersey, New York, Long Island, New York State, and Fairfield County. And we would like to grow. We'd like to expand. So we have several hundred caregivers on our system. We've managed, I don't know, let's say 150 cases. We're growing every month. And now our key is to figure out a digital marketing strategy that will work, because it's all about being scalable. And it's one thing for me to go and speak to various groups. Yesterday I spoke to a senior center, and word of mouth is great, but ultimately a venture capitalist is not going to want to look at word of mouth as a reason to expand. So we need to sort of figure out some kind of scalable model, and we're toying with various taglines and messaging and landing pages that hopefully will work. Because it's interesting, when we first started toying around with this idea 2 years ago, and Care.com was the big thing. They went public, and everybody talked about them. But now, really, people don't talk about Care.com. The model doesn't really work, and all they were doing was about getting people on their system, but not really getting any revenue. But now people have, and they were really more into babysitting and nannies. But now groups are finding this area. So there's a company in San Diego called Home Hero that just got $20 million in Series A VC funding to do something very similar to what I'm doing. And then another company more recently called Honor just started, and Andreessen Horowitz funded it in a big way, and they got a total of $20 million. So Andreessen Horowitz did most of it, and then they got a bunch of these Silicon Valley luminaries going in as well. It was some guy who sold his business to Google, who's from out east. He came home, saw his mother was weaker, and said, she needs help, let's start a business, which is not quite as authentic as my experience. And it's interesting that their initial thing was, okay, we're going to disrupt the agency model because we are going to bring a lot of technology. And clearly, they have the money to bring a lot of technology. Now, I think, so yeah, an app, which would be one of our next goals, but they do more than that. They put a monitor in everybody's house so the family can keep track of exactly what's going on, whether the caregiver's late, if caregiver's napping when they're not supposed to be. To me, this seems a bit like Big Brother and overkill, because we really haven't seen that experience. But that's the mindset of Silicon Valley, that let's just throw a lot of technology and disrupt this business. They're also paying the caregivers $15 an hour, which, yes, is better than the 10 or 11. So those are their two big issues. Now, they said in San Francisco, we're going to charge $30 an hour for the family. And I'm like, they have no idea what they're dealing with, because people are not going to spend that. Even people with the money are not going to spend $30 an hour. Now, I've seen already they're down to $25 an hour. So the other interesting thing about this, again, it's my business sense and it's everybody's business sense here. This whole Uber issue, right? And I sort of like to liken what I do to Uber, not to be presumptuous or anything, but the idea is, and I'm a huge fan, right? So I took an Uber here today, and I'm going to get a ride home with Roger if he waits for me. So I think as a consumer, Uber's great, and as a provider, and it's great for the provider. And that's my thinking about Lean On We, that we do the same thing. We offer a better service for the consumer and for the provider. And people didn't know the home care system was broken until something else. They didn't know the taxi system was broken until something else came along. So the whole issue with Uber and 1099s is a huge issue in this business as well. So these two companies are 1099ing their caregivers. And that does not fly out here. So it's complicated and it's complex and it's intricate on how to manage, because if this company like Home, and I may be rambling and giving you too much detail, but it is actually very interesting. So for example, Home Hero is 1099ing these caregivers on behalf of the families, which, like I said, the IRS has been pretty clear that that is not what you're supposed to do. So that way, they charge the caregiver 15% on top of whatever they're paying. So they take a 15% vig. I would love to do that. That's how I started this. I said, I'm going to take it right from the caregiver because the caregiver is making a lot more money and they don't care. And this way, there's no friction at all for the family. But my lawyer said, that ain't going to fly. So that might have been more of an answer than you were looking for.
Are you on the referral list with any hospitals or insurance companies?
I am. Not insurance companies, but I've taken my dog and pony show to Mount Sinai, New York Presbyterian, Sloan Kettering, Hackensack, Valley, Jersey City Medical. And then New York Presbyterian and Mount Sinai have probably been the best. And then we've also gone to a bunch of subacutes and independent living, and some of them have they're in bed with their own agency, and it makes it challenging. Look, I have no issue with the agency. It serves a very important role. All I'm saying is that there's a big percentage of the population that wants to hire privately. And that's what I'm trying to disrupt. I'm not really trying to disrupt that agency system. Studies show that 50% of the people who hire care, pay out of pocket, would prefer to do it privately. That's a huge number. And those people are doing it blindly. So if I can bring that market in from the cold and give people this kind of transparency, well, then I've accomplished a lot, and I'll let other people attack that agency business. But you're right. I mean, there are plenty of those sorts of places to go, and I keep thinking about that. I've gone to a rehab company that's in 8 states, and they love us. But you sort of have to keep staying top of mind in order to keep getting the referrals. Just like calling, I mean, when Mike stops calling, they don't call him. So.
Ron, on that note, you've got a whole group of well-connected people in here. What can they do for you? What are a couple of key things you want to take away?
Did I feed that to you?
Of course not. You told me.
It's really what I said before. So I think speaking is going to be very effective for me. Like I said, you were sort of the guinea pigs in terms of corporate speaking. But I felt more comfortable being here, even though I got whacked over there. So yeah, I think speaking is something where I can really differentiate myself, and that's what people have told me. Now, I've been printed in a number of newspapers, the 2 largest dailies in New Jersey, the Star Ledger and the Bergen Record, and I'm hoping to be on TV at Channel 11 soon. And so, if anybody has any media contacts, that would be great. And if anybody would follow, like I said, the social media stuff, or if you know anybody who's looking. And since you mentioned it, I will be also as soon as I sort of get this digital marketing down, I'm going to be looking for some money.
At Barclays, we've created an accelerator downtown, which is kind of new about doing anything like that either through Barclays or any other organization that can accelerate it? I don't know if you're familiar with it or not.
I have thought about it. I did not know about the Barclays Accelerator, so I would be very interested in that. I know Penn and Columbia have similar types of things, which I've pursued, and but I haven't gotten anywhere. And it's funny because I mean, accelerator is not exactly the same as an incubator, but I think if there's, everybody who starts a company says they made a ton of mistakes, and I made them too. And I think that if I had started in an incubator of some sort and had someone to bounce some of the internet stuff off of, it would have accelerated my progress. Like, I had advisors, but I don't think, I mean, this whole digital marketing, we made mistakes. I think we picked the wrong lawyers right away. We picked the website I mentioned might not be the right. Well, actually, I didn't mention it. The website, we need to make a change now to make, instead of proprietary, something open source that will be more conducive for organic search. We need to have landing pages for paid search, all kinds of stuff that, I was just an Asian sales geek. What did I know about this stuff? So it's been quite a learning process. So yeah, I would definitely be interested in something like that. I know there are certainly people that can help me make fewer mistakes going forward, although I'm sure I will make some.
Does the company cater all sorts of disabilities? And if so, do you have any training plan for these caregivers, or like what
I hope I didn't confuse you. It's actually not focused on disabilities.
okay.
It's mostly senior care, elder care, which is obviously by far the biggest area. Now, that doesn't mean we don't also cater to disability care, but it's